India's aspiration to be a global research and development hub is at odds with its current investment in innovation. And today, we take a closer look at the funding crisis and what it means for India's economic and technological growth. Have a look.
India's ambitions of becoming a global research and development hub are at odds with its dismal investment in innovation. The Reserve Bank of India's latest state finances report reveals a glaring funding gap, with state budgets allocating a mere 0.1% of gross state domestic product to R&D between financial year 23 and financial year 25. This falls embarrassingly short of the national average of 0.64%, which is already minuscule compared to global standards. Among the 10 states analyzed, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu are two of India's wealthiest states, allocated less than 0.1%. A stark contradiction for regions housing the country's tech and industrial hubs. Most of the funding is directed towards health, sanitation, and agriculture research, but spatial variations and declining agriculture R&D spending raise concerns about strategic prioritization. While health and education saw marginal growth between financial year 21 and financial year 25, the overall numbers paint a grim picture. India's underinvestment in R&D has larger consequences. The country produces some of the world's best minds, yet a lack of resources and opportunities drives them abroad. Brain drain remains a critical issue, with Indian scientists, engineers, and researchers powering global tech giants while domestic innovation lags. As India positions itself as an economic powerhouse, the questions arise. Is it growing smarter? Without robust investment in R&D, India risks stalling its innovation engine. With the government now preparing the 2025 budget, this funding crisis demands immediate attention. Bold fiscal measures are needed to address the gap, incentivize state-level spending, and ensure long-term growth. India's growth story is impressive, but without a commitment to R&D, it risks losing its brightest minds and its future. Will the 2025 budget deliver the shift India desperately needs? This is Bureau Report, WION World is One.
And for more on that, with us on the broadcast this minute is Madan Sabnavis, Chief Economist at Bank of Baroda, live from Mumbai. Thanks very much for being here. Let me begin by asking you, what is your outlook on India's budget 2025?
See, in my view, I think the budget is going to focus a lot on fiscal consolidation. That has been the goal a couple of years back, ever since we had the pandemic. And the government was quite committed to moving the fiscal deficit ratio to 4.5% in 25-26. And it does appear that in 24-25, we will be doing better than what was budgeted at 4.9. We may end up with maybe something like 4.7 or 4.8%, which really means that the starting point of the budget will be lowering the fiscal deficit to something like 4.3 to 4.4%, so that in the subsequent years, we can actually target going back to the path of 3%, which has been the ultimate goal for the government of India.
Right. What major changes are you expecting in the budget?
See, there are two things which I think in terms of the content of the budget. See, one is a focus on consumption, because we have seen that there have been different stories coming, that there has been urban stress when it comes to consumption. Rural consumption, of course, has revived in a certain way because we've had a good Kharif harvest. So the question is that what exactly can the budget do in order to encourage savings? So here I would tend to believe that the government may be giving certain concessions on the taxation front, especially in the income tax front. And this would be more likely to be across the board if it has to make any impact. Now, in the past, we have seen that there is certain relief which is given to people at the lower income groups. That definitely does help to make living conditions better for them. But if you're talking in terms of providing a big boost to consumption, it'll have to be across the board, because it's the people in the middle class, upper middle class, they're the ones who normally tend to spend more. So therefore, I think there could be some bit of relook taken in terms of the income tax slabs and the income tax rates, both under the old and the new schemes. And that is something which I think would receive attention from the government. The second thing is in terms of investment. We have seen that there has been the PLI scheme, which was announced in 2020, and this was covering around 14, 15 sectors. Now, there would be kind of a renewed focus on the PLI scheme to ensure that we get in fresh investment from these sectors. Additionally, I think in terms of the PLI, there could be some kind of an extension to the MSME segment, that is a special PLI scheme for them, because we all know that MSMEs do contribute around 40% of India's exports, largest employer as far as the country is concerned after agriculture. So I think these objectives will be met simultaneously in case we're able to do something to spur investment on their side. So I think these will be the two things which the government will be looking at in order to provide an impetus. And then on their own part, I think the capital expenditure of the government was targeted around 11.1 lakh crores last year. I think there could be a shortfall. We could be ending up around 10 lakh crores. I think the elections would come in the way of this spending. And I think we could probably see renewed vigor shown by the government in terms of the capital expenditure outlays for 25-26.
Right. And before we let you go, what can the government specifically focus on, according to you, to ensure India's long-term growth?
See, in terms of what the government can specifically do, I think capital expenditure is something which is directly in its hands, because when I mention something on consumption or investment, you're waiting for different constituents of the economy to respond to the incentives and bring about the desired results. But today, when I'm talking of this 11.1 lakh crores which of capital expenditure, which the government is likely to spend, especially on roads and railways, we have seen that the multiplier effects are very, very high. And this is something which they have directly control over. And I think they will continue to focus on this. And saying this, I think there's another program which they started last year in terms of generating new employment. This is for new employees, paying a part of their provident fund to the employers, contributing, making that contribution. The internship scheme, which they announced for internships in top corporates. I think this is something which will probably get another a repeated boost in this particular year, so that you're able to attack both capital expenditure, that is investment on its side, as well as employment. So I think these are the two things which are directly under the control of the government, and they will definitely continue to persevere with them.
All right, we're leaving it there for the moment. Thanks very much for being here.
Thank you.